And we are live. Hello, everybody. I'm going to say hi in my chat over here. And then I'm going to play my welcome video really quick for everybody. I always start my live over here so that I can mute it. There we go. All right. Thank you very much for being here. As you come in, please hit that like button. And we will be right back, and I will introduce you to our guests. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you. Right, so here we go.
I think the girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done. Hello, good afternoon or good evening, everybody. How are we doing? All right, so I want to first, I want to welcome Christy. Christy is with Sweet Misery True Crime. Hi, Christy. And so she's got a couple of questions here too for our guests. And our guests are, I'm going to bring up my screen so I can show you guys who they are while I, hang on. Let me get it ready. Okay, now I'm ready. While I introduce them. All right, so this is Brian and Luke with Healy Law Firm in South Carolina. So welcome, guys. And with them is Hannah. Welcome, you guys. I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having us. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Debbie.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So everybody, they do have a YouTube channel. It is called Bring the Jury. And so for them, I made just a little silly little welcome thing.
Okay, if we can have our witness back. We can have our witness back. You may bring the jury. You may bring the jury.
Yeah.
All right. So that was for you.
That's what the name of the podcast.
I think it's always interesting to watch Judge Newman. I just watched him on this newest case of Rita Pengalangan. I just covered that case. It was a really short trial. It was pretty obvious, what happened there, but it was really sad. The little girl that was left in the car.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that was a really, really sad one. So I just covered that. Let me put up my banner for everybody here. There we go. And we are ready to start. So, and I'm going to bring my chat over here off the window. There we go. Oops. There we go. Just show all my DMs, y'all. All right. So, all right. So we only have them for an hour, y'all. So we're going to get through this, okay? They are right there in South Carolina. They have told me they've had personal dealings with Judge Newman and other things there that I find super interesting. So we are going to start with Murdaugh. I hate being on camera. I'm super, super camera shy, especially because I got to put these on to read. But you know what? I think I'll just pull up the file that we made. Yeah, there we go. I can read it just fine on the screen. Don't have to put on my eyeballs. All right. So what city are you in again?
So we're in Columbia, South Carolina, but they also have offices in Charleston, South Carolina as well. But if you are in South Carolina and in need of legal representation, the Sheelys can help you out, or at least refer you to someone that can help you. But yeah, wanted to just say thank you again for having us on. We are so excited to talk about Alec Murdaugh today. That's really how Bring the Jury started. Since it was such a happening in South Carolina, there were a lot of opportunities for us to talk to local media about what was going on and give, the legal analysis and knowledge that these guys have, which is really interesting and informational, educational. So we're super pumped. Thank you so much for having us. And we've been talking about KOHBERGER some. We've talked about Alec Baldwin, Alec Murdaugh. We love to talk about, popular cases that are happening in the nation. And so when you slid into our DMs, we were excited to chat with you.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's start with a first question. So just a little bit of an icebreaker here, if you don't mind. Do any of you have something fun or something unusual about yourselves, like maybe a weird hobby? Like I'll give you an example. I can blow a bubble and then blow a bubble inside it and then another bubble inside that one. It's just this little funny thing that I just do that all the time. And people are like, how do you do that? Because I can sometimes get 3 or 4 bubbles going and it's just fun. But and I know sign language, but that's about it for me. I'm pretty boring. But is there anything cool about you guys, like personally?
I mean, for Luke and I, we are identical twin lawyers, so we're brothers. We work together. I'm 8 minutes older.
No one's counting.
So I kind of forget that a lot, and then our clients are, wait a second, they're looking at us. We had a jury trial last week, and the jury was looking at me funny, and so I mentioned it. But so we're twins. I guess that makes it unique. We sometimes get asked questions about, can we finish each other's sentences and stuff like that? Not really, but we do think about things in a similar way, and we're just super close. That's good.
I really enjoy
Forgive me for forgetting.
Yesterday.
So Luke is in the blue, correct?
Luke is in the blue, right?
Okay, so you guys, these are twin brothers. Luke is in the blue, Brian's in the white, and then Hannah's the gorgeous one to the left. All right.
We all get
Cool. All right, well, what about you?
Me?
Yeah, do you have anything interesting about yourself? I think you're awesome.
Well, thanks. Interesting about me. One time I
climbed the highest rock wall in South Carolina when I was in like 2nd grade. That was pretty interesting. I was really racking my brain today for interesting facts about myself. But yeah, I do digital marketing here in Columbia. That's how I got connected with these guys. I used to be a counselor, so I kind of offer my insight to human behavior from time to time. But yeah, other than that, just happy to be here.
And I think it's interesting that she is the product of a lawyer dad and private investigator mom.
Yeah. So the perfect genetic combo to be here with you all today.
Sleuthing.
Awesome. Okay. Well, let's see. All right. So let me go back to my questions again. Now, remember everybody, just use like hashtag Q in chat if you would like to ask them a question. I just saw one up here. I'm so sorry that we don't have time for me to individually answer or, greet everybody today. I hope you understand we only have these fine people for an hour. So we'll chat a little more after they have to go home. I'm not going to end it at that time. But I do want to get through all of our questions. So I figured that's a little more important. Let's see. Chopper has a question here. How is Alex Murdaugh covering his attorney's expenses? I thought he still owes the victims money. Your camera's doing that thing on the bottom again.
I'm going to refresh it a little bit here. I fixed it last time.
There we go. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, I think initially a lot of his resources were being used up. He had savings, that kind of stuff. I think in the later stages of the Murdaugh trial, I think, he had all of his assets frozen. And so there was a lot of kind of administrative proceedings where he was selling off property and that kind of thing. I mean, there is a law in the books that basically says he's not supposed to be monetarily stuffing his pockets based on the crime or the conviction, especially if he owes victims a bunch of money. So who knows? I mean, at this point, his defense counsel, this has been such a wildly publicized case. I mean, there's book deals, movie rights, memoirs to be published. I mean,
Netflix specials.
So I'm not.
And books. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I don't know how he's paying the attorneys at this point. They may be just their involvement in this case may be paying for itself, so to speak. So that's probably the case. But I know at least initially there was chunks of money being paid out, and then his assets were frozen, and there was some court wrangling about how to freeze some resources for his defense. I think some was granted and some was told, sorry, all that goes to the victims of the financial crimes. So I think I think everything now is up for grabs in terms of the book deals and the movie rights and all that.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. All right, so I'm going to go to one of my first questions with Murdaugh. So tell me what you think. If not for that video that Paul took out at the kennel, do you think that Alex would have been convicted if the video didn't exist? I've always wondered about that.
I'll take a stab at this. I would say a lot of it depends on some of the rulings. I mean, the financial crimes coming into the murder case was such a big decision that he is made to be looking like such a bad guy, but that by the time he discusses, well, hey, I didn't kill my wife and son, no one is really interested in hearing that. But let's just say we're all starting over and we didn't have that Bubba dog video. I mean, that's why we always caution our clients respectfully to not talk to police, because he gave so many statements that began to be inconsistent, and then they bust him with that video that really shows he was there close in time. Now it's, so it's a wildly circumstantial case, or some people might say overwhelmingly circumstantial. There isn't direct evidence, there's not the gun, there's not an admission, there's not an eyewitness, but it cuts against his lies so much of not being down there that you have to wonder why, if not guilty. So I would say, I'll go out there on a limb and say, if legally the financial crimes were not deemed admissible in this case, and no Bubba, I would say he stands a good chance of walking.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, great answer. Thank you. And Chopper said thank you very much for answering their question.
Absolutely.
All right. So speaking of if not for, sorry, if the allegations that are true right now coming out in the affidavits and new affidavits that are attached to this new motion for a stay of everything and the motion for a new trial, if those are true, do you think that the verdict would have been different if not for the court clerk's meddling? I guess we could just leave the kennel video out maybe, but what are your thoughts on that? And I know you said you've dealt with her before, correct? And so anything that you want to share about how you think that this would have been different if she wasn't meddling herself, you know what I mean? And anything else that you want to add about her?
Well, I've dealt with Judge Newman. We tried a bunch of cases in front of Judge Newman. We did a double murder trial in front of Judge Newman, the trial right before the Murdaugh trial. And I wasn't saying that I had dealt with Miss Becky Hill before, but I have dealt with a jury tampering trial situation in front of Judge Newman about, I guess now 10 years ago. And so I know how this is going to play out. I mean, number one, it's very concerning. And, filing a motion like what they did yesterday, it can never be just speculation and conjecture. As soon as we were hearing rumors about the filing or about their hold a press conference, and the rumors started to kind of narrow in on jury tampering, the first thing Luke and I said to each other is, well, they better have their receipts. And what we mean by that is they got to have affidavits. And they sure do. I mean, these sworn affidavits by at least two of the jurors. And again, these jurors don't want to be dragged back into this stuff. That was a big chunk of their time, but they're giving sworn testimony attached to this filing that basically says that Ms. Hill, improperly, number one, was asking about their opinions about the deliberation proceedings well before the trial is over. And that's a big no-no. I mean, every day, before the cameras get in there, typically before, court starts, it's always, you haven't talked to anybody, you took an oath as a jurors, they're not even supposed to talk to each other until all the evidence is back in the jury deliberation room. That's how sacrosanct, to quote this filing, and we all know it. I mean, sacrosanct. But I mean, it's so important.
Yeah.
Sacrosanct. We don't want them reading news articles. We don't want them being influenced by things that they can just come in contact with, much less a court official kind of chatting with them, influencing them. She's alleged to have fabricated, and I just can't believe this, fabricated to the court, Judge Newman, about Facebook posts from ex-husbands of one of the jurors that she presumably didn't like on the jury.
That was, I think, swaying towards the defense. So it's kind of like get her.
It is just insane that she is taking jurors into her office and essentially grilling them on their beliefs, what evidence they like, what supports guilt, and that is just unheard of. She is supposed to be, any clerk of court is supposed to be helping assemble the jury panel, helping organize them, help with ordering the food, making sure they're comfortable. I mean, it's not supposed to be, she shouldn't be talking to them at all, other than telling them to go, here you go, time to go to court, here's your parking voucher. I mean, this stuff that they're saying, these affidavits about the influence that she's having, taking the jury foreperson and having private conversations, it's just wild. And even Judge Newman in this filing, of course, it included some transcripts where Ms. Hill is saying, listen, we've got some issues. There's a Facebook post, there's some things going on. And, Judge Newman is kind of saying, well, what's going on? And they bring the juror out there who was dealing with that. And he's like, well, did you talk to Ms. Hill this morning? Because she was asking me these questions in her office. And Judge Newman was very concerned about that. And even on the record, he's like, ooh, I don't like that. She should take that directly to me. She shouldn't be asking questions concerning maybe a juror talking about the case to an ex-husband or to people that she rents her apartment to. I mean, that's kind of in this filing. So he doesn't like that, and he doesn't even know what it's about yet. He's like, why is she doing that? So that's in the record, but this is all very wild. She needs to, in our opinion, lawyer up, because she has lawyered up. She's already hired Justin Bamberg and Will Lewis, both South Carolina attorneys. Justin Bamberg is pretty well known, is representing victims in the financial crimes of the Murdaugh case, as well as other kind of, he's kind of a, I would say, describe him as a victim's rights kind of lawyer. Will Lewis is a very good former assistant U.S. attorney, now in private practice for a very reputable firm down in Charleston, and he's a very good lawyer when it comes to federal investigations. And so, this filing not only asks to stay the appellate proceeding, of course it's on appeal. It says stay that and hold an evidentiary hearing concerning jury tampering. And then they're also referring this for a civil rights violation with the federal attorney's office, U.S. attorney's office. And so this is a 5-year felony in South Carolina if there is just probable cause to find that she did this jury tampering. And that's for law enforcement to decide. Now, Judge Newman has a task to hold an evidentiary hearing, and certainly there will be an evidentiary hearing based on the affidavits containing the sworn testimony. And then his duty will be to examine the jurors, examine Ms. Becky Hill. Now, she's going to maybe invoke her Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. I would if I were her. I'm sure Will Lewis is advising her of such. And then he's going to have to hold an evidentiary hearing. And the analysis is, under our law, under the Supreme Court of the United States and our South Carolina cases, if this is true, that's kind of the first analysis. Let's see if there is influence. Okay, and then it has to be, if it's true, is it about the subject matter that we're here for? Because court duties are often, you got to talk to your jurors to make sure they're fed, make sure they're comfortable, make sure they get smoke breaks, make sure they get, their needs taken care of. And so that's all well and good. But if you start asking questions and you're influencing them, number one, and the subject matter is about the case, and that clearly is what the affidavit suggests. Why is he guilty? How do you like the evidence? Don't believe his testimony. You're getting ready to hear the defense put up a case. Now, don't get fooled by them. Now, these are literal quotes from affidavits from jurors. And then the allegation that she's misreporting or fabricating a Facebook post to get a juror off the case, who ultimately was dismissed from the case by Judge Newman. I've never heard of such a thing. And we've been trying cases for 17 years in this state. We probably tried 8 cases in front of Judge Newman, including murder cases, big cases. Never heard of this. And this motion seems to indicate that they're trying to tie a link to, well, why would she do this? And I think the question they're trying to answer is, well, she had a book deal coming up. She knew that if this went as a mistrial and not a guilty verdict, then she was unlikely to get her book deal. And she wanted that book deal. And so that is just criminal if that's true. So
Yeah.
it's just, I mean, the local criminal defense bar, the local prosecutor's bar, we're looking at this stuff, are like, wow, we just cannot believe it.
Well, I just wanted to show everybody, you guys have, you've made the news, you've made headlines for a lot of your cases. And I read about several of these, and you're very impressive. You know what you're talking about. This person, OCD Shaggy, wants to know if you've ever had any problems with the clerk in your trial experience. And let's see, hold on, let me go.
Take a breather, take a sip of water, buddy. Don't touch my
It's passionate.
Don't touch my
Short answer to that question is no. This is so unheard of. I mean, we got a little miffed in our last murder case maybe 2 months ago because the deputy clerk, who's just an assistant assigned to the courtroom, we had a jury out for over a day, and late in the evening on the first day, we discovered that she wasn't providing them dinner, and that they had just had snacks. And so we were pretty upset about that. And we were in front of a new judge that really wasn't instructing the clerk to do all that. And that's usually you never see anything like that. The deliberations are supposed to be a very safe space where all these important matters are decided. And you want to encourage jurors to be comfortable, to not feel they're deprived of, let's say, a smoke break if they need it, to make sure they have basic necessities of doing a public service, water, food, comfort breaks, because you want them to not make a decision for either side based on some physical, personal, emotional stress that just causes them to be hasty. So no, I mean, I think the worst we've ever had is, there's even in case law that I see is like a bailiff. And bailiffs are usually like volunteer, kind of crusty old folks. Honestly, and they're doing a service too. They're not making much, but they're retired, and they're like that conduit to the jury. They're herding them back and forth. The jury may say, "We've got a note." The bailiff takes it and gives it to a clerk to read, or they say, "We're hungry," and the bailiff goes, "Well, do you want Chick-fil-A or Jersey Mike's?" And if a juror, just out of sheer innocence, says, "Well, hey, bailiff, you've been here for 45 years straight. What happens if it's like 12 o'clock and we haven't made up our minds?" And the bailiff just regurgitates some answer because he's been a bailiff for so long and says, "Well, the judge might give you an Allen charge." Even that is deemed harmless, that he's trying his best to answer a question. Whereas here, the allegations are influence. Don't disregard the defense. What are your verdict? Who's guilty? Who's not? Let me have a private conversation with the poor person in the bathroom.
and then little big things, and then smaller things like, you got 6 smokers on the jury, so half of them smoke. And she's telling them no smoke breaks during deliberation. So that's akin to a basic need for them. If you need to smoke on a regular basis, you need that nicotine to feel comfortable. And so that's just no bathroom breaks, essentially, is what she's telling them until you get a verdict. And by the way, here's what it needs to be, and telling them unexpectedly, by the way, if you can't reach a verdict, we're going to haul you off to a hotel. You're going to have to be holed up in a hotel for the weekend, which is not Judge Newman's practice.
So do you think that this motion will be granted and he'll get a new trial? And do you see any a change in the way it's going to pan out? Since the defense has obviously seen all of the state's cards, do you think maybe they can successfully keep out the financial information next time? I don't think that they'll be able to keep out the video, but maybe they would succeed with a different judge. And speaking of the judge, do you think that he will postpone his retirement that's due to start in December? Do you think he'll preside over a new trial? And then we're going to get to Christy's question, and then we're going to take Avery's question, which is on the screen.
I would say this: Judge Newman he's retiring. We have a mandatory retirement age in South Carolina. He's not postponing it. but he has been enjoying his time post Murdaugh trial because it's, he did a great job with the case in terms of his demeanor, his control. I can disagree with some of his legal decisions, but he's a very experienced judge. But this is a real curveball. I think it should be granted based on what's presented. There has to be a hearing on it. And if the jurors and people that have submitted these affidavits can come in and testify consistently with these affidavits, by law, it needs to be a new trial granted. If the judge does not grant it, it's a win-win for the defense. Then it becomes another appellate issue that is interjected into the appeal, and they'll cite error by Newman. It's a difficult position for Newman because he took the opportunity, and we've been before him when he's sentencing, to really let the defendant know how he feels. And he had some very choice words for Mr. Murdaugh, and he was applauded in many corners for it, but it definitely gives the defense a chance to say, you know what, Judge, I don't know that you should even be hearing this motion because you seem to be so in favor of the result and believe that the evidence, that this was the only conclusion in the case anyway. So we might think that you have an appearance that you couldn't be fair on this. If I was the lawyers involved in this case, I'd be making that motion. And he's also kind of a witness. He's basically, and they alluded to that in their press conference. They said, he's hearing these interactions, he's observing the clerk. You can't be a witness and decide the issue in the case. So he might have to sidestep it because he is a witness to the clerk's behavior. So, but if it comes, it's a win-win for the defense. If it comes back, anything's possible, particularly if the financial crimes are not in. I think always the Bubba video will come in because it's his voice. I think he's even admitted it was his voice. I mean, it was a surprise. That's just bad for the defense and good for the prosecutors. But the trial based on this would have to be granted. I mean, I don't see anything anywhere around it. The new trial, right?
I agree. Yeah, very good. Very good. Okay. So Christy, would you like to go ahead and ask your question, honey?
Yes. Is it possible for Murdaugh to get bail if he gets a new trial?
I mean, it's possible, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. I mean, number one, he's got all the other financial crimes, which my understanding is that they were close to getting wrapped up.
I think he's pled to them waiting since.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to. I mean, he may be getting a new trial in this murder case and be serving a bunch of time in prison for the financial crimes. So he will always be, if this gets granted and it's a new trial, and like Luke said, unless these jurors come in and just do an about face, which they are not, because these are affidavits, these are in good standing, it should be granted, but he will never be defending himself as a free man, even if he technically, this trial comes back and he once again is presumed innocent. So he'll always be defending his innocence on the murder of his wife and son from confinement.
So Jen Liu says, way to go, Becky. Now we have to listen to Murdaugh and his snot rocket testimony again. Thanks. That was great. Okay, now Avery Shannon, she wants to know, what is each of your opinions on Murdaugh's innocent, and same for KOHBERGER? Or do you think that they are or were guilty or innocent? I know you're familiar with the KOHBERGER case as well.
This is always such a popular question. This is probably a question that we get every time that we talk about any case, is they want to know what we would say if we were in the jury.
It's hard, so we have to put on our, we unabashedly come into any kind of conversation with the defense lawyer mindset. So we are biased. We do kind of root for those guys, but we also could feel like we can try to objectively evaluate the evidence. I mean, as for Murdaugh, I mean, he's clearly a bad guy, stole from clients, real money problems. The question that never got answered for me 100% was why? How does it, the state's theory was essentially it was a distraction to cover up the impending financial crisis and exposure, but like all it did was
That doesn't make sense.
Right, all it ever did was put an international microscope on his life. And these people, the testimony was they never argued, they loved each other. I mean, I look at that video of him with Paul out in the fields, like just an hour or so before the killing, they're looking at the tree, and there's just like this folksy kind of love. He didn't seem like he had the demeanor of a man who was plotting the worst thing he would ever do in that moment, just an hour or two away. So like, I never could tell how that would help him. There was no life insurance. Now there was lots of people that had it out for him. And so we always kind of teased the Ozark defense that like he had gotten in bed so bad with drugs and cousin Eddie, and like maybe there's some bad dudes waiting to send a message to him. And with the timeline so short of like him being down there and having like 16 minutes to get rid of the gun, clean all the clothes, make it non-discoverable forever. And, that's a pretty short timeline. So I was like, if he was going to be innocent, it was going to be like somebody waiting in the wood line to seize an opportunity and then make a point. But to answer your question, this may not be very popular, and he's not a good guy. I would say, yeah, I lean innocent on the murders because there's just no reason why. It doesn't help him in any way.
And, having Maggie die in that horrific way, I mean, you got to think about what are his motivations. He was able to borrow money from property that she was, a partial owner on. I mean, he was maxed out to the limit, but he could still get capital based on the Edisto property, which I can't remember which was which, whether she owned all of Edisto and part of Moselle or the other way around. But like, once she died, he had no more collateral. He had no more borrowing power. And he was constantly borrowing money from the bank to try to cover up stuff and keep it going. So there was no real financial motivation. I mean, why did husband kill wives? There's tons of reasons, but it seemed like he was all about the money. But so I think Eileen know that he actually didn't pull the trigger. I think it could be more of a message from some criminal illness that he was dealing with in over his head in a big way. In terms of KOHBERGER, I don't think we know enough yet. I think we've got, obviously that trial's been delayed it's a death penalty case. You can't try a death penalty case that quickly. We've got this alibi notice that has not been officially fleshed out yet. They are under a deadline on that, or at least they were until the trial got he waived his speedy trial rights. But, that's another very interesting circumstantial case with, he looks the part. Don't get me wrong. Now, for my mind, Murdaugh didn't really look the part of a killer. He looked the part of a con man. Now, KOHBERGER looks like a killer, but what's his alibi gonna flesh out?
You think he looks like one?
Yeah, we joke around that he looks.
Yeah.
Hannah, you said looks like.
I don't know if you're familiar with the movie Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal, but they're like the same person. But to take it even one step further, there's like this statistic somewhere, I don't know, someone on the internet figured this out, that if you can see the white around someone's eyes, like all
Yes, I forget the name for that. Yeah. I used him as on one of my thumbnails because he looks so much like him.
Yeah, but like there's some statistic that it's like so many killers or serial killers have this like the eyeball thing where you can see the whites around your eyes all the way. So I don't know. They need to throw some glasses on him, a sweater. They need to do something. But Alec Murdaugh, I obviously do not have a law degree. That may shock some of you, but I do not. But I will say that just from spending so much time talking about that case, especially with these two guys, is there was definitely enough doubt for me. So if I were on that jury, I would have maybe been removed. But I would have said that there was enough doubt just from just like the planted little ideas or questions that I would have had regarding everything. I don't know that I could have confidently said that he killed his wife and son. Now there's definitely red flags, and I look forward to the sequel. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think that they did a good job explaining it, but maybe they could have. I think it would have helped him if he would have just told the truth from the beginning. Yes, I was down there, and no, I didn't do it. You know what I mean? And just stood firm on that. That might have helped him a lot with that. Okay, so Jin Lu has a question, but first, somebody in the audience had a very interesting question. I really like this question, and she's a really good question asker. She wants to know if the one on the far left stage is single or married.
Who's on the left? Is that me?
What's going to be you? Oh, well, yeah, I think that's you, Avery. Which one are you wanting to know about? Hannah or
I'm on the right of this room, but I'm probably asking about Hannah. We're all married.
So we'll make that easy.
all married. Sorry.
Who knows? But married, all of us.
Just kidding. Just kidding, Bridget. If you're watching, we love you. Sure.
I had to do it, girl. I had to do it, Avery. Okay, so Jin Lu has a question. How would these allegations be proven? You know, the ones against the I always mess this up. Clerk of court, Becky. How can these be proven besides the affidavit? She said. What else is required to prove what they're saying? Is it going to be just the affidavits? Is that enough?
Well, there will have to be a formal hearing held, an evidentiary hearing, where these folks will be called in to testify. And so the burden is on the defense to bring in these witnesses. And whether it's in camera, because some of these jurors haven't wanted, rightfully so, haven't wanted to be named, but whatever judge decides this matter, will have to hear live testimony. They're going to have to present their accounts. You know, the defense will put up evidence, whether it's paragraphs from the book that Becky wrote, whether it's, handwritten notes, other things that we don't even have yet. And it's a full evidentiary hearing to prove the issue. So it's not, this submission does not just do it by itself. It has to be heard. It has to be ruled upon. It's subject to questioning by the judge. Like Brian said, he had a trial once where this occurred in a way lesser extent. Can you not hear us?
I think she was agreeing.
Oh no, I was saying I was like lipping my answer to Tia. Tia had a question. She wanted to know if it makes any difference whether Becky's book was published by publisher or self-published, if that makes a difference in, like her motive or how much money she would make.
I don't think that makes a difference. I think I guess the motivations are kind of a sideshow for her. I mean, the affidavits say that she did what she did, and they kind of corroborate each other, the accounts of the jurors about what she was doing. And I think, the defense filing tries to kind of say, well, why would she do that? To kind of lend credibility to their filing. And I think they say, well, the motivation is that she's publishing a book. So whether it's a book deal or it's just profiting off of a book and hoping that her position in that courthouse for those months will allow her book to be profitable, I think it's that subjective belief that maybe she'll make money off of that position and that kind of storytelling that
I think the book is just icing on the cake.
Right.
I mean, everybody comes into a courtroom with their own biases. and believes that she's a clerk of court in that small town at the world's biggest trial from this year. And she has to live and work there. And those folks elected her. So it's like a personification of her personal views on what is right and wrong in her community. The fact that she seemed to want to profit from it and encourage the jurors to go on the news and went with them to NBC and did the Today Show, like, that's just icing on the cake, whether she gets a book deal or self-published on Amazon. I guarantee you her books are selling right now, though.
Yeah, I need to pull it up and see how much it's selling.
Right now, as we speak, yeah.
I'm checking chat. I'll check that in just a minute. I wanted to see. Christy, do you have another question? You're muted, honey. There we go.
Thank you. Do you think
No
you'll get a
worries.
fair trial there, or would they try to move it?
So would he get a fair trial there, or or there be a request to move it? I mean, we were talking about that today in our office. I mean, anything's possible in terms of if it comes back, which I think we believe it will, we try to get it out of Colleton County.
I think, yeah, they will definitely try. I mean, because the allegation now is like institutional against the clerk of court and really her office. So I think, as before, we were wondering, like, well, do they want to go somewhere where maybe nobody's heard of this in a different county, or would the defense think that his ties to the community may help him? Well, I guess they got their answer on that. But now this allegation is really against the county itself. So I think whether it's granted or not, I don't know, assuming there's a new trial, but I think there'll definitely be a motion for it too. Because it gives credibility even to this. Like, we can't go back there. Look what occurred. Let's go to some other clerk's office, talk on the other side of the state that doesn't feel as, pressured to be influential in this case in a way they should not. But I think, yeah, I would. Yeah.
A couple of people in chat wanted to know who you guys were. And Richie, hi. Hi, Richie. How are you doing? And welcome in, everybody, if you just got here. Thank you for coming. You can ask questions in the chat if you'd like. We're trying to get to as many as we can here. This is, oh my God, why did I just go? Brian and Luke from Sheely Law Firm in South Carolina. So yes, you're right. And then they do have, I think this is the right. Yeah. They are known as Bring the Jury on YouTube.
And we also, just to plug ourselves, we actually have most of our podcasts on our Sheely Law YouTube channel. Which is
Everything's on, yeah, it is a little confusing. We tried to separate them, but then we got more traction on just the Sheely Law YouTube. So you can follow us on Sheely Law Firm, and all of our episodes are there.
Right here?
Yep.
All right, you guys. See this one? I'm going to put this link in chat. I'll just use this window here and make it a little easier for me. There we go.
Thanks for that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Very cool. I'm already subscribed, but I need to turn the bell on. There we go. Cool. All right. Yes, they are right there local in South Carolina. Now we are down to 10 minutes. You guys, I'm kind of curious. Would you be willing to, I know this Murdaugh stuff just came out and everything. And I know we were originally planning on only talking about KOHBERGER until this new thing came out. Would you be willing to come back for a part 2 on just KOHBERGER?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, cool. Awesome. That would be fantastic. I appreciate that. That way, I do have a couple of questions here. I'm going to go ahead and use my paper in just a moment. Anybody in chat have any other Murdaugh questions?
Y'all can also follow us on Instagram, Sheely Law, TikTok. LinkedIn, Facebook, MySpace. But yeah, the YouTube is Sheely Law. Same with Twitter, but both of those do have Bring the Jury accounts. Those are inactive at this time.
Okay, so you said you have tried cases in front of Murdaugh. What are your general thoughts on how he presided over that trial?
Yeah, I mean, we tried a bunch of cases in front of Judge Newman. He, unlike some judges, always has a very great command of the courtroom. I mean, no one ever acts out in his courtroom. And if they do, they're in a lot of trouble. I think Luke and I both think he did a good job with that trial. And, he was appointed to this case by our Supreme Court due to his ability to deal with a very complex litigation, both financial crimes, the murder, the complexity of both the prosecution and what was going to be coming from the defense team. So he's probably one of the most qualified judges in South Carolina to hear that. And we always enjoy trying cases in front of him. We've probably done about, 8 or so in front of Judge Newman. I think we disagree with some of his rulings. I think Luke and I both disagree that, the defense did not open the door to the financial crime allegations in that case. I think once the financial crimes come in, it really undercuts any credibility that Murdaugh would have, period. I think more of a on the fence, but equally big ruling was Judge Newman allowing in the suicide, the attempted suicide. There's pretty established case law that, suicide attempts coming into a murder trial or a major trial are very much frowned upon unless there's a nexus to it that kind of correlates to the actual crime that you're on trial for. And so I think that was probably an improper ruling. And so I think that initially Newman was going to let that in, and the state wanted to use kind of a legal theory of res gestae, which is like their ability to tell the entire story. And I think Judge Newman rightly initially kept out the financial crimes, which really was a punch to the gut of the prosecution, but then kind of in a very kind of weak water way allowed in all that stuff. And it was basically, he was on trial for those lies. And he couldn't get up there and say he didn't lie to all those victims on the financial side. He couldn't dispute that and then have any credibility left before the jury on what he was actually on trial for, which was double murder. So he was really put in a difficult spot. I think that was the biggest mishap that Judge Newman let in those financials. I agree.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, Christy, do you have any other remaining questions on Murdaugh? And then what we'll do is, because they have to go in just a little bit, we will do this. I'll just get with them and schedule for a whole hour just KOHBERGER next time, which is so awesome. I really appreciate you doing that. That is great. Is there any other comments that you have, or are there any other comments that you have just in general about the Murdaugh case and the probability of a new trial? Any other just general comments? And then Christy, if you have any other questions, please ask yours as well.
General comment would be leave Buster alone.
We need shirts.
And then, I think the probability of a new trial being granted is high, and if not, the probability of an appeal being granted is high based on denial of a new trial. If this holds up, unless the absurd happens and these jurors come in and say, this is not me, that the defense made all this up, well then no. But if they stand by this, then a judge would be really hamstrung and be forced to grant a new trial based on after discovered evidence.
Okay, you know what I did? I pulled up, this is Fofacat. I love her. She has a really good question. Does the judge always appoint the jury foreperson in South Carolina? Judge, hang on, I lost the question again. Okay, there we go. There it is. If not, did Judge Newman appoint this jury foreperson, or did he do that in your trials as well?
Yeah, Judge Newman's preference is to always appoint a jury foreperson. That's just his style. There's no rule in the books that says a judge must appoint a foreperson. We've had some judges say, after you take your oath and you're getting ready to come back and hear the testimony, let me know who you guys decide collectively who you would like to be the foreperson. That's probably more rare that judges do it that way. Judge Newman almost always says, you're gonna be the foreperson, and that's how it happens.
It's usually always the person who's sitting on the front row of the jury box on the side closest to the aisle.
Right.
Wow.
Judges do that. For whatever reason, it's just easy. You don't have to have jurors fighting about who wants to be the foreperson or not. So yeah, he usually says, guess what? It's you. It's your lucky day.
Wow.
I never want to be a foreperson on a jury. Maybe sit in the background.
The other kind of thing about Judge Newman, this preference, he very, very rarely ever lets jurors take notes, because he doesn't want a juror's written note to go back into the deliberating room and maybe improperly influence another juror. Ooh, that was a bad freeze.
Yes, I remember that really bothered me that nobody had notes or anything during the trial. It really bothered me. I'd like to play this really short clip, just something that I found of something that Becky Hill said. And I thought that it was kind of funny, kind of ironic now. Let me make sure my volume's up. Yeah, okay. Should be playing. Come on.
If you commit the crime, you're going to be found out, and that justice will be served.
Amen, Becky.
No. Wow.
Well, I could see that being played in a federal trial against her coming to courts near you. I mean, everybody kind of feels like, hey, the cat's out of the bag. We won, and now I can say and do what I want. Oops. But it's pretty clear that she felt very pleased by that verdict. And yes, if you do the crime, people should pay their debt to society. But it's more than that for her. It's like, you're gonna be found out, and guess what? I'm gonna help them find you out. So anyway,
I tell you what, Creighton Waters is not a happy man.
no.
Someone mentioned that in our chat.
Because
Creighton Waters is crying in court.
he tried a really good case. He brought his A game. It was a long trial. He gave it everything he had, and he thought it was good enough. And then, Becky has sunk his boat. He's going to be so upset.
No one wants to retry a 6-week case. Nobody does.
Mandy.
But if financial crimes don't come in, maybe it's a 2-week case.
Oh, my phone. Wait, let me silence that real quick. Somebody's texting me, Debbie, all caps. Like, okay, but who are you? I don't know who you are. I'm not answering. Okay. Oh, it says, hang on. I always have to check, because of my little girl. Oh, yes. All right. I can get back to her. Sorry. Juggling this and mama stuff all the time. It's kind of hard. Okay. So, Christy, do you have any other final questions for these fine people in South Carolina?
Yes, I do. If Becky gets charged, or when she gets charged, will it be federal or state charges?
It could be both. It could be, there is a statute on the books for jury tampering. That's a state level case. That's a 5-year felony. There's also could be a federal civil rights abuse violation. So pick your poison. It could also be a public official in their capacity as a public official, enriching themselves through their position as a public official. That's a crime. So pick your poison.
I would say likely federal. If it's criminal, I'd say likely federal, because you want to avoid all the entanglements of state politics when you're an elected official, and elected officials that commit crimes usually get federally charged. But we're way cart before the horse. I mean, if all this is true, it could happen, but the first analysis is, will there be a new trial granted? I think yes
And
to that.
Pepper has a related question. She said, if there is a retrial, would they have the same prosecutor and the same judge?
Very likely the same prosecutor, the same team from the Attorney General's office. Very unlikely to be Judge Newman because, number one, he's probably going to have to retire. He is going to retire. Number two, he may be considered a witness in these proceedings moving forward. But I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be Creighton Waters and his team again. But I don't see how it could be Judge Newman in the future, other than his ruling on their motion for a new trial based on Becky Hill and this after discovered evidence.
Can you refresh, Hannah, please?
Let's see.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, so Chopper says, I don't see the court clerk doing this. I'll just wait for the evidence. I understand that. I always want to see the evidence, no matter what. I want to see the evidence. So I just think it's very telling that they've got these sworn affidavits. So I think that's pretty big. And everybody in chat's like, damn it, Becky.
Yeah.
May I ask just one more quick question?
Absolutely.
Wait, hold on. Let me find that comment again. Oh, shoot. Oh, do you think that he's maybe trying to serve the rest of his time in federal prison or instead of state prison?
I mean, yeah, maybe that could be. I mean, I think as much error as you can, interject into a murder conviction is always good, because it's not going to get consecutive life on financial crimes. He'll get something hefty that might feel like life. But yeah, federal prison is generally viewed as more comfortable than state prison. I can guarantee you that. But I think he just wants, obviously, a redo, and if an elected official at the clerk of court did do these things, then I think we as a society should not want our trials and fair and free fundamental due process to be affected, no matter how much we hate the guy. He might love for this to be a retrial. He can sit in federal prison for a while the next step plays out. I think he's awaiting sentencing on that.
And Debbie, unfortunately, I think that our time's up for today, or else I'm gonna get divorced from my wife for not picking up the kids.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You don't want to be the next case on the news. Man forgets his children.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we'll continue chatting after you guys leave, but thank you so much for coming, and I will get with you to schedule again for whenever you guys are available. So they were supposed to come last week, I think it was, but they got called to a jury trial. So thank you so much for making this time for us today. I really appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you can follow us on Instagram, Sheely Law. You can follow us on YouTube, Sheely Law, not the Bring the Jury one. And we look forward to chatting with you guys again soon. This has been
Bring the Jury.
And CrimeSleuthin.
And
Bye.
Bye. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you guys. Oh, they're awesome, aren't they? That was fun.
Yes, that was nice of them.
So you guys, I'm sorry that we had to, cut it short, so to speak. I mean, an hour is a pretty good long time to have an attorney in one spot. So that was amazing. I know how busy they are,
The
So
fact
we
that they
will,
even took the time out.
yes,
is
they're
amazing.
really nice people. And I'll have them back for part 2 whenever they're available, and I'll let y'all know. And we'll do an hour or more on just KOHBERGER next time. That way we can just split it up. I think there was just so much to talk about with the new Murdaugh information. We'll just do it that way. There was no way we could fit all the Murdaugh stuff in half an hour, or the KOHBERGER stuff, because I have my list of questions, you guys, and I've got so like on KOHBERGER, I have this many questions.
Yeah, that's gonna take about 5
No way
hours
we can do
and
that. Yeah.
no chat questions.
So yes, we will definitely do that again. Y'all know I like to be prepared. I like to have my questions, but I wanted you guys to have your questions first. So thank you very much to everybody who shared questions today. Guys, can I turn off my camera now?
I did. Good
Well,
Lord. I was so
I'm
thirsty
so
and
shy.
trying not to
I
drink.
hate being on camera, girl.
Me
See,
too,
that's a
but I
much
was
better picture. All right. So, and I'm sure that we'll even probably have them back again, for more Murdaugh stuff, depending on what happens, with all of that. When they have a hearing date set, and we'll, keep following up with them on that too,
So that's the channel that you recommended to me, correct?
Yes.
I think I remember. Okay, the name sounded familiar.
Yeah, they're really great. Thanks, Chopper.
They sound really nice, but somebody in chat always has to ask if people single for their friends. Avery, maybe you should have a different.
Well, I don't blame her. They're cutie pies. Mm-hmm. And she wasn't asking for herself. She said she was asking for a friend.
I know that friend's gonna get her in trouble.
Nah. I'd ask, and I'm married. It's no big deal.
Who is Robert Tells? Tells.
Aw, you leaving us, Richie. I'll see you later, probably in somebody's chat. Thank you for coming.
Bye, Richie.
Bye, Richie. So, love you, Avery. I'm just picking. She ought to know by now I like to pick. So.
What she would have done if he would have said, yeah, he was single.
Oh, I
Avery,
know, right?
Where are you?
South Carolina's not that far away. Yeah, I love how, they know so much about, the Murdaugh trial, especially. We could pick their brains for hours on the Murdaugh, just that. And
it's really cool
if you go
that
to their channels, they've got a lot of stuff on KOHBERGER as well. So I'm really looking forward to having them back on that.
It's cool that they've done trials in front of Judge Newman, and actually they've done trials with Alec, correct?
Say that last part again. I'm sorry.
Didn't they have trials with Alec as the prosecutor, or no?
I thought so.
Yeah, that's what I thought they said too. I just wanted to make sure.
LFT, thank you, girlfriend, for being here. I appreciate you. Please, yes. If you haven't subscribed, please do. I know we'll be having them back. I will get all of their links and all of their socials and put them down in the description after we're done today. So I think we'll go ahead and just wrap it up there then. That way we don't spend too much time just chit-chatting too much, and people can, come back. I mean, I could go over the Murdaugh documents and all that, but it's 65 pages. Let me show y'all here. Okay. Response. Okay. I've got all the KOHBERGER.
I had 29.
Yeah,
Or
it's
is that
65
just one?
pages. Here we go. Yeah. So I'm just going to show everybody. So up here you see 65 pages. It's a lot. But basically they're just saying that they want a new trial because Rebecca Hill instructed the jurors not to be misled by evidence and not to be fooled by Mr. Murdaugh's testimony in his own defense. I'll upload these to the Facebook group as well. Ms. Hill reportedly pressured the jurors to reach a quick verdict, saying they couldn't have a smoke break until they were done and that their deliberations shouldn't take long, all kinds of stuff. She supposedly did these things to secure herself a book deal and media appearances, and she wouldn't have got all that if he would have gotten an acquittal. So I go all the way down here, and you can read these yourself. These are the actual sworn affidavits of the jurors in question. So you can read these for yourself. I believe, didn't Melissa Jade read these? I'm not sure. Somebody in chat say who you know that actually read all these. I read all 65 pages aloud and like recorded it. I may just upload that. I don't know. But I know I'm not reading 65 pages again. How long did it take?
How long did it take you?
Let's see. Is it? I don't like my background like this. I can't read anything. Let's see how long this thing is. I'm not going to play it, y'all. It is 47 minutes long. And that was reading it straight through without taking any breaks. But if you go, I can just probably upload this as a, I mean, she was really out to get a lot of stuff for herself. It doesn't look good. But yeah, so I will have that up for y'all to look at. I read the other one there. What is this? Alex. I'm not sure what this is. We're going to find out. Is this the press conference? Yeah, that's the press conference.
So immediately in the aftermath of the...
You guys have, if you have not seen this, would you put a 1 in chat? If I see enough 1s, then I will go ahead and play the press conference, but only put a 1 if you have not seen it. Otherwise, don't worry about it. I don't want to, repeat what other people have already seen. You know what I mean? That's just kind of a waste of time.
Yeah, I've seen it.
So I'll just wait a minute. If I don't see any 1s, I'll close it.
I actually streamed at like 1:30 this morning just to get it over with.
Oh, cool. Okay. Okay, so Corey has not seen it. Anybody else? Well, here we go. Here's what I can do. Bear with me. I've got a shorter version of it. Hold on. I've actually got a kind of a truncated version of that saved. I think here. Let me see. This one right here. So we can watch this because it's only a couple minutes. This will get you caught up.
So immediately in the aftermath of the verdict, we had received information that we needed to look into what happened in the jury room. We started down that road and we met a zone of silence. No jurors would speak to us. And so we were, what I like to call, we were given the Heisman, right? And then when the clerk of court wrote her book, published her book, that zone of silence collapsed. And jurors were upset about that, the ones we talked with, and they were more than willing to come forward and tell us the things that we had sort of heard through a whisper campaign. But, and so as a result of that, we were able to interview some jurors. Now, there were still a number of jurors who maintain that zone of silence, who have not talked to us. We did try to reach out to most all of them that we could get in touch with, but the information we got, I can tell you, was independent of each juror. The first juror we talked to, we got information about Ms. Hill saying, "Don't be fooled." And then the second juror, independent of the first juror, says the same thing, and the third juror, independent of the other two, say the same thing. When we considered what factors and what we should and should not do, and considered whether he should take the stand, we never considered the likelihood, as reported to us by the jurors, that the clerk of court would go in to the sanctity of the jury room before he testified and tell the jurors, "Don't be fooled by his testimony, watch out for his body language." And that is what the sworn testimony that we have filed in court today says. And if that is true, which we have every reason to believe that it is, and no reason to believe that it's not, there's no choice but the courts to grant a new trial.
All right. So yeah, that's a pretty quick little clip there. That pretty much sums up what happened at the press conference. So I'll get those uploaded in the little video in case somebody wants to watch it too. If you guys haven't noticed, we finally hit 5,000 subscribers. So I'm going to be doing my first giveaway. I'll get that scheduled too.
Yay.
So let me check chat again before we go. You think it was all pre-planned, MK? Yes, their sunglasses make me laugh too. Hi, Austin. How are you doing? And again, I'm sorry that I didn't get to talk with you guys at the beginning. I just wanted to get right into the questions because I knew that they were very limited on time. They only had the 1 hour. So. Let's see. Just
Okay,
checking.
Debbie, thank you for having me up here. I'm gonna drop and go over my stuff for my live.
Okay.
But I appreciate
Thank you for
having
coming
me
up. I appreciate you coming up here.
And it was really awesome to be able to talk to them and ask them questions. And
yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll have them back as soon as I can.
All right, bye, everyone.
I think this day next week might work, but I'll let y'all know.
Wednesday.
Thank you so much, Christy. Have a good night.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. And guys, I will also have them back for more Murdaugh questions as well. So save your questions. They are super familiar. They're right there local. They've been, before Judge Newman. And so as soon as we get word on what happens with this motion for a new hearing, then I'll let y'all know and we'll get them back over. But thank you so much for being here. You guys have a lovely evening. And I will see you next time. Bye, everybody. You know me, I'm going to play my little outro here. Let me find it. All right, here we go. Thank you, guys.
Hey, all y'all. How y'all doing today? All y'all have a good day.